Welcome, everyone. Glad you could be here today for the Missouri Arts Integration Network monthly professional learning community. And I've got some people here today that I do not know, some people who I've not met before. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to have new faces here and so excited for you because you are going to get to hear Carrie Pace talk about what's going on in her school a little bit later on. So here's the Padlet link in the chat. If you would visit that and just reflect on those questions, feel free to post your answers or just think about them. It is totally up to you, but you're invited to use that as a way of communicating with everyone. Welcome to those of you who are just joining us. Welcome to the main event for January of 2021. Again, my name is Phyllis Paisley. I'm the Executive Director of the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education, and thrilled that you're here with us today. If you will add your name, school district, and organization into the chat, you can add your email address if you'd like. I'll just proceed without further ado. If you need or would like a continuing education certificate for any of your documentation, feel free to email me, or you can drop that in the chat that you need me to send that to you, or you can email me directly offline. I would love to move to our breakout sessions. I'm going to stop sharing. And the questions were posed there on the Padlet. For those who arrived a little later, I will put the Padlet link into the chat again. I'll open the breakout rooms. Please head over there. We'll come back and regroup, and feel free to use the Padlet to record what happens out of your breakout rooms. So I'll see you back here in 5 to 7 minutes. We will move along to our featured presenter. We have Carrie Pace from Ferguson Florissant School District. It is a STEAM school, and she has a presentation prepared for us that is called Arts with Heart.
Art with Heart, I do. And Phyllis, will you give me sharing privileges?
I will. Welcome, Carrie. We're thrilled you're here today.
All right. Hi, everybody. So I'll tell you what I tell my students, which is welcome to my little classroom in the corner of my basement. So I'm really excited to be here and really happy to present to you all. I am losing my voice a little because after the weekend when teachers rest and then you come back to school on Monday and you talk all day long, that's just what happens. So, but the presentation that I'm about to give is one that is near and dear to, no pun intended, my heart, because it's just one of the coolest projects that I have ever done. I've done it twice successfully. Last year we started it and the pandemic hit, so we didn't get to finish it. But it is one of the most incredible experiences I've just ever had as an art educator. So it's a project called Art with Heart, and I say it's an amazing and intense because it is cross-curricular and community-driven project. So in a nutshell, what this project is it's what we call a PBL unit, which is a pedagogy called project-based learning, which is a super awesome thing for you all to look into if you're not familiar with it, which is just basically a teaching pedagogy. But it connects 8th grade students with local nonprofits in our community, both like the North County area of Ferguson Florissant, kind of into like the St. Louis area. And students team up to create their own small companies or businesses to raise funds for one of those nonprofits that comes and joins us by selling student-made projects. And if you're thinking like, oh, well, like we do something like that, we do like a little art fair where our kids sell things and we raise money. It's kind of like that on steroids. And it's sort of grown over the years, the 3 years where we've just kept building on this. And I'm sort of like the main teacher in this project as the visual arts teacher, but we also involved our math teacher, our humanities teacher who puts a big language arts piece into this, our science teacher we plan on getting involved, and it's just this very entrepreneurial experience. So the way I break this down is like this. There's a strong community connection. There's a big entrepreneurial focus, obviously an art focus, a math focus, a language arts focus, and a soon-to-be science focus when we get to do this again. We had attempted the science piece and then we all got sent home in March. Okay, so the way this project starts is with the community. So we reach out to different nonprofits in the area and we bring them all to our school. So they're gathered in our cafe, and we basically have what's like a nonprofit fair. So nonprofits set up around the cafe and students just travel around and talk to the representatives from these nonprofits about what they do and why they do it and how they do it. And so here's a couple pictures from our cafe. And so all these tables are set up kind of around the exterior. We have about 80 eighth graders. It's a smaller school. And we had in these pictures, maybe 10 different nonprofits that came in to set up to talk to the kids. And they range from, like, this was Center for Women in Transition, helping women when they get out of prison reintegrate into their community. Deaf Inc. works with people who are hard of hearing. We've had organizations that help with fitness and just supporting North County and all kinds of different organizations. But the kids get to actually interact with representatives from these nonprofits and have these kind of really cool informal dialogues with them. So then what happens once they know all this cool stuff is going on in the community, then we tell the kids, like, all right, now we get down to business. So what you all are going to do as students is build your own company. And what they need to do, and I just got word my internet is unstable. So if I freeze, let me know and I can back up. They have to choose a nonprofit to connect with, and there's no double, so they each get their own through like a ranking system. They have to come up with their own company name and logo, products to sell, a website for promotional and informational purposes. They have to be able to create this like pop-up shop. And then when they're selling their products, they need to put flyers with their products so the people purchasing things know what it is they're supporting and why they support it. So the art connection is kind of obvious. And those are things like you need a company name and you need a logo. So you're pulling in some graphic design. This is all student work. This was a company called The Red Void. They supported an organization called The Red Circle. So some did cool things where their logos and company names related to what they were supporting, and others were just kind of cool company names. So these are some of the logos that kids made and names of their companies. Some of them related, this one related more to the products they were selling. And some of them were like this group, oh my gosh, would have just knocked all your socks off what they did. But it was just a really kind of cool variety. So then students kind of have these ideas for their companies. And for their products, the general guideline, which I kind of have down here, is you need to sell at least 2 products and make 10 of each of those products. But I'm not gonna let you make them and put them into production until you prototype something that I think is actually worth selling and your peers think is worth selling. So kids start with this process of just experimenting with materials. And I have a very open kind of like tab art feeling classroom where kids are doing all kinds of different things at the same time. So kids experimented with beads and with paper mache and with construction paper and with lights and with wood and with sewing and with computers and all kinds of things. So then these teams say, all right, these are the 2 things we think we want to sell. And they go through a product review where they set their things up and it's silent. Kids walk around and they assess each other's work and they say, oh, I think I might buy this for me. I wouldn't buy this. This is what I think might make your product better. This is what I might pay for it. So these student companies get all of this information to then make any tweaks and changes to their products before I allow them to go into production. And so these are kids walking around kind of quietly, assessing the things that companies are thinking about selling. And then I bring adults in too. So they're just assessing, here's what I think of your products. And these are some of the products we've had in the past. So this company made these beautiful stab bound sketchbooks. These are seed bombs, and students sewed bags for the seed bombs. Guys, these were so great. Okay, these are little like stitched notebooks, and they're different people, but they go in different sleeves. So they made different like career sleeves, so you could like pull a notebook and pair it with a certain sleeve. Like the kids just got so creative. One group made these light boxes, and the photos the kids took. So that's part of what they learn, is a little bit about photography, so they can market and kind of give people a preview through their websites. These were these imagination boards. It was like chalkboards, just painted mugs, what were called galaxy rocks, greeting cards. Some kids used prior knowledge from other classes for 3D printing. These kids used recycled like candy and chip bags to make these wallets. Sort of paper mache bowls and so like the range is huge with what kids came up with to sell. Okay, so now kids know, all right, these are the products our company is gonna sell, but Mrs. Pace doesn't have all that stuff lying around in her art room to use. So what student companies then have to do is apply for a bank loan. And so this is where our math teacher is pulled in. So if students want access to $25 so they can buy supplies to make the things that they need to make to sell to raise money for their nonprofit, they need to get an approved bank loan. And what's cool is we actually brought someone in from a bank, well, like a regional manager from a bank, to have these interviews with these companies. And so this is all from the math teacher, where he says, all right, these are the questions that we're gonna ask you, that the bank person's gonna ask you in order to decide whether or not they're gonna give you this loan. So like, how much are you requesting? What's your price point for your objects? What are your fixed costs and variable costs and all these things? I don't really even know what they mean, but the kids fill this out. So this is an example of what one company filled out. And I'm not gonna read through it, but they had to include these graphs for like, what's your break even point? How many do you need to sell before you would actually start making money? Who are you raising money for? How much do you think you might make? So it's this, they have to be able to answer all this. And then the kids go and they interview with so this is my principal here, but this woman was from like a regional bank, and the kids get super nervous because there have been teams that have been denied in the past on their first initial interview, where they've said, I would never give this company this money. They don't have answers to these questions. They need to come back once they've sort of addressed this issue. So this is something that they always get really nervous to do. And then they get really excited when they're approved, and then they can actually start ordering the supplies for their companies. So that's our big math connection. And then for language arts, and actually the math connection we didn't do the first year. That was something we added on the second year. The first year was just me and the humanities teacher, the English teacher. But the piece that she did is very cool because I guess in 8th grade language arts, part of what is in the curriculum is doing a research paper. So she has kids do research on the nonprofit and the cause that it's supporting. So if the nonprofit was about gun violence in St. Louis, they would then go research not only the nonprofit, but what are the issues with gun violence in St. Louis, and what are the causes, and what are the trends, and those kinds of things. So she would have them do that, and then she would have them create the flyer that would go with their products for the night they sell their things. So here, I have a couple of examples of flyers that the kids made. So this organization, Things and Stuff, supported Deaf Inc. And it just explains like, here's who we are, and here's who we support, and here's why we support it. And I have a couple other examples. These are like front and back flyers. So this was Fun Without Guns, the organization, and Skylight was the student company that supported them. Doge was the student company. And this Therapy Dogs International is who they supported. I'm going to come back, if I have time, I'm going to pull these up to show you the websites that the kids did. But for the sake of time, I will keep going, but the websites are pretty cool. I can stick around a little later if anybody wants to see those. Okay, the
Mary,
science,
can
yes.
you put them in the chat later if we do run out of time? Or
Oh, yeah,
okay.
for sure. So the Science Connection we didn't get to last year because our year ended early, but the plan was to, this third year of doing this, to pull in the science teacher, and she wanted to have kids learn about the environmental implications of the materials that they were using for their products. So if you were going to make something out of plastic, is very different than making something out of cotton fiber, which is different than making something totally out of recycled materials. So I'm not totally sure the direction she was going to go as far as like deliverables, but we had talked a lot about integrating this piece this past year, and then it didn't happen, but we plan to in the future. Okay, so then when we tie it all together, we have this huge pop-up shop event where the kids stay after school and they set their stuff up. And this is a flyer that went out to advertise it. And here's kids setting up. And they all, not everybody stays and sets up, but a lot of them do. And I have pictures in 2 different settings. The first year we did it in like a boardroom. The second year we did it in our cafe. I liked the cafe better, it's a lot brighter. But you can see like kids came up with really clever ways to display things. Kids had to come up with signage, tags for their products, ways to package. Those donuts, they were so cute. Oh, and then they all set up their computers too, so people could look through their websites when they went to purchase their things. There's more little student pop-up shop sales. This group of girls, these girls were amazing. They made these light boxes, and all they knew they wanted to do was they wanted to do some sort of like huge display. So, I mean, literally in like 4 hours, they figured out how to like stack paper boxes and like wrap them in paper and put lights, and they brought like a little speaker and had music going. It was pretty awesome. And I mean, it was cool because the aesthetics were so different for each company. And so here's our sale, people actually purchasing and buying. This was in our cafe. It's much brighter there.
What a tremendous
and they loved it. You know, they get super into it.
You know, you see people of all ages here.
And so a lot of, well, and it coincides with another event in our school. So this wasn't the only event. We have like an expo night where teachers are showcasing all kinds of things. So we make it on this expo night. So we have a huge audience. And then what's cool is, so after this is over and the kids sell all their stuff, then like there's a whole receipt thing. So there's another math component in there because we have to collect money from one single table. So I'm like I know all the numbers, but I'm passing back all the receipts so they can sort of add up all of their numbers to figure out how much they make. And then what we do is we invite the representatives from the nonprofits back to the school. And when they come back to the school, it's cool because the student small businesses meet with that representative to just like share their whole experience, talk about the process of learning about the cause and creating a business and all the kinds of cool things that they learn. And so these girls are talking with this, woman just about their whole experience. And then we do like the whole jumbo check thing. Like our first year we did this when I knew we were inviting them back. I said, oh my gosh, I got to make one of those jumbo checks. So the kids learn out how to actually fill out a check, which obviously 13-year-olds don't know how to do, and they get a kick out of that. And then, we took these photographs where they're presenting the nonprofits with their checks. And most of the student organizations make between $100 and $200 that they're donating, which is awesome. And it's just a super great experience. So this was the first year, all the kids that we did it. And I can't remember our total, $729 or something. The second year we did it. And then our third year never happened, but I'm sure it would have been just as lovely of a group. So so that is really the experience in a nutshell. I can take questions. I can show you the student websites if you want. I mean, it's kind of up to you. I know we only have about 8 more minutes.
Yeah. Well, we're just so thrilled that you were here today, Carrie. I mean, I kept getting so excited about what I was seeing, because this kind of holistic learning is why so many of us are attracted to arts integration, because it's just so powerful. And I'm noticing in the chat what Katie said, that these students will never forget this project, and she wants to go shopping. So I think it's safe to say you need to let all of us know the next time you're going to do this, so that we can shop and support your work, because it just sounds great. Are there any specific questions for Carrie? I had one, and invite you to unmute and just ask yours right after mine. And it was in regard to the mathematics portion. So in terms of delivering that instruction, did most of that happen in the math classroom when they were filling out their forms and creating that chart that showed the break-even price point and all that stuff?
Yes. So I think one of the trickiest parts in planning a cross-curricular project that's as intense as that one is all the teachers have to be on the same page. So we make a calendar that we're all shared on, and we all say, hey, these are our deadlines. So Mr. Baker says, hey, this is when kids need to know how much their supplies cost, because the bank people are coming in this week. Or I might say, hey, I need your kids to apply for these loans because I got to buy supplies for so we all have this shared calendar, and we all tell each other our deadlines we need to meet, but then the content is taught within their classes.
Carrie, did you say how long the time frame for the project is?
I didn't. So for my end, this is almost all semester. Like, we launched the project like the end of January, and then the end of April, beginning of May. I mean, it's about 3 months. So in my class, we're totally focused on this. In math, it might just be a couple weeks worth of time. In ELA, it's a little bit longer. But for me, it takes up the bulk of the semester.
Did you find it challenging to do that kind of coordination? And I noticed you started small, like with just one partner, and then you got to a second partner. Can you talk about that process a little bit?
Yeah, so our first year, it was just me and the humanities teacher. So it was the art piece, and it was the language arts piece with the research and the flyers. And then the math teacher had some ideas, but couldn't really get it rolling. So it was really just the two of us. The second year we did it we had the bank connection. And so we pulled in the bank loan idea. And then this last year we wanted to add the science teacher. So it was a big project its first year, but it definitely got more involved and in depth even over 3 years.
I can see that sometimes people might be intimidated by the massiveness of this, but just keeping in mind, even just a small nugget is still great and a great instructional strategy. So
yeah, and it was kind of terrifying, but I think that pressure for me was the same thing that the kids got, especially when it came down to deadlines, where they knew it was real. They really had to make stuff. They really had to sell stuff. So I think a lot of that pressure was what made it so successful.
Thank you, Carrie. Any other questions for Carrie?
How do you fit it into the school calendar with testing? There's certain things that everybody has to do. Obviously, you have the support of your administration to do this.
Yeah.
But we're just amazed at the solidarity that this shows arts integration builds. Really, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I would say that as the art teacher, I'm lucky because I don't have any of that, like as far as testing. But that is why we would have like a joint calendar with the other teachers. So
Right.
they would give me those time frames that, because I could work around their schedule a lot more easily than vice versa. Yeah, it is a lot of teachers having to talk and plan together for sure.
I don't know if you remember me, but we really miss you at our February, when you come up to the Two Hill. You always bring students up to the.
Oh, yes.
So we do we'll miss you this year, but come back, you will.
We will, for sure.
Thanks, Maggie. Are there any other questions for Carrie?
Yeah, Carmen.
Let me unmute myself. Carrie, wonderful, wonderful presentation. My only, not really question, but a comment is the fact that life, as you are presenting it, has to have a certain amount of truthfulness and veracity, and obviously there are business failures. So within the math component, I would guess the student will have some sort of a introduction to what happens when business do not work, when business are wonderful in your mind, but what are the reasons why they will fail? And that component, if it's not within the frame of what you are doing, I say it is extremely important, and it has to be added in order to balance the whole project. Those are my comments.
I think that's really interesting. I think that students, if they didn't get approved for their bank loan, were a little taken aback because they were like, oh, this is a school project. We're not getting our $25 to spend. So that was a wake-up call, but I love your idea of talking about the success and failure in businesses. And I think one of the things where students get a little bit of a taste of that is some of the businesses raise $200. And then like every year, there's always a student company that only makes like $50 or $60, which is still great. It's a donation, but it usually has to do because they didn't necessarily make good products or they didn't make as much as they could have. So there is a little bit of this kind of real life experience where some of the companies are kind of going, oh, we didn't maybe do as good as we could have. So it's not the same as what you're saying. And I think that's a good thing to be talking about that. That I'll bring up and keep in mind to put in there. But it is always interesting, the difference between the company that earns the lowest amount of money and the highest amount of money. I mean, I could tell them before they had their sale which ones would. I don't know if they knew, but by the end, then it becomes apparent like, oh, that company that worked their butts off the whole entire time, yeah, they made $200 and we made 54.
Okay, those are wonderful comments and idea. And sometimes it happens that you still can really break your butt up and you still will fail because it's beyond a certain element that you don't have control on. So the fact is that the kids are learning. They are learning through the success and they are learning through the failure. And the failure in this case is not zero, but a little bit less than expected. And I think that is very, very important in maturing the mind of young people, because life is not always just rose and candies, and at the same time it is something that serves them for the rest of their life. So congratulations, it's a great project, a great idea, and I know kids are enjoying it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Carrie. We're so glad you were here today. Well, I just placed in the link or in the chat a link to next month's main event, and it will be featuring Stephanie Hasty and Elizabeth Barker from Lebanon, Missouri, who also have a project that is actually in the development stage. It's called the Global Cultural Fair that they're going to share about. And then in March, we have Jenny Fonenstiel, who's on the call today. She'll be presenting. And then Stephanie and Elizabeth will be back in April after the event to kind of tell us how it all came together. So we invite you to come to our next month's main event. And the last screen is thank you for coming today. And I look forward, hopefully, that you will come back again next month and meet some more great arts integration practitioners from across the state and become inspired to continue the work. Have a great rest of your evening. I hope to see you back here next month. And take care, everybody.
Yeah, goodbye.
Thank
Great
you,
job.
Carmen.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.